take us into the future. What do you think? Because you're, again, as I started the show saying, you have one of the most brilliant minds that I know, and I feel smarter when I speak with you. When I'm
Let me say first that, and I don't mean to depress everyone, this stuff is accelerating and it's sort of everything everywhere all at once. When I'm in Silicon Valley, everything is being challenged, which is good, right? But it's not necessarily better, but it's going to be different. There is what I call the San Francisco School. These are companies that are in San Francisco that believe within 2 or 3 turns of the crank, these things are about 18 months long, you're going to see intelligence on par or better than the best humans. That's a big deal. My prediction for our audience here is 6 to 8 years. You're going to have systems that are 90% of Michelangelo, 90% of the best physicists, 90% of the best chemists, 90% of the best artists in your pocket. And every American will have access to that. Every citizen in the world will have access to it in some form. This happens very quickly. It also means that all of a sudden you have the best researcher in your phone, right?
Mm,
You can actually start asking questions. And I found myself using this, and I'm a longtime Google user, but now I use Google's AI, right? Because it summarizes better. I don't have to read all the original sources and I trust it. So
yeah,
it's happening very, very fast.
yeah. So that's good, right? Is that should we be optimistic?
It's
You said
it's
it's a little
it's
scary.
overall good. What I think the way to understand it is tech is moving so quickly, but our government is moving more slowly.
Yeah,
And so there's going to be a big disconnect between the speed with which tech is moving and the impact that it has on society. When we did social media collectively, we did not understand that social media would unleash horrendous tribalism, including horrific things like the KKK and these groups that we thought we had sort of gotten rid of, sort of reformed because of social media. And so now it's going to be much, much worse because you could do specific targeting and you can also build communities of fake people. You can build whole influence campaigns based on falsehoods and so forth. We're just not ready for it. We have simple models like free speech, which obviously I support, and democracy, which means one person, one vote, and so forth. And then you overlay this stuff and it gets very confusing.
yeah. Before I let you go, just a quick question: do you think we'll see space in our lifetimes?
What do you mean by space?
Maybe living, or where it's not just a couple of people going up and orbiting space or going to the moon or what have you. Do you think that that somehow there will be an existence maybe in another place other than Earth?
There will be a permanent community on the moon in my lifetime, certainly in your lifetime. And the reason is that we now have the ability to manufacture the materials we need to make oxygen and so forth. It can be reasonably self sustaining. It's not inexpensive, but it's possible. And the way you would do that, by the way, is the first thing you do is launch the robots onto the moon to build the community. And then the humans go after it's been built and they show up and it actually works. Mars is much harder because of the distances involved. Mars and the US and the Earth are only close to each other every couple of years, and it's a
Mhm.
6 month travel. But certainly for the moon in our lifetime, absolutely.
Will AI and the advancement of technology prove the existence or non-existence of God? Can we find? I wrote a book that's called "My Search for God in America." But can we prove or disprove the existence of God through technology or through AI?
It's going to be hard because how do you prove something if the system can also learn how to lie?
Mm,
I think it's reasonably obvious that God exists because there has to be some place for your soul to go. And you can use different names, but that's my personal view. But how would you actually prove it? It's very hard to know.
yeah.
And what is going to be true is that Don Lemon, after Don Lemon unfortunately will eventually die, you will live on because there's so much about you that the system can learn. And we'll be able to ask Don Lemon in the future what Don Lemon thinks about something that occurs in the 22nd century. And that will be relatively easy. So we collectively will live on in our digital presence, but it's your bet as well as mine is what happens to our consciousness.
That was my last question, but just you brought something up. So we don't have a pill, or we won't be able to live forever in the current form that we are in now.
Well, there's a lot of people who are working on life extension.
Yeah.
Most people think there is a natural point beyond which it'll be too hard for humans to live. A lot of people think that number is around 130 years. I don't think anybody really knows. But
Yeah.
it's certainly true that synthetically grown body parts, the incredible changes that are going to occur in human diseases because of AI, will give us a much longer lifespan. And that's a good thing for everybody.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern, so there's plenty of content for you to check out.